And it is World Environment Day, and the recent momentum towards net zero emissions is evident, with over 1,000 companies committed to achieving net zero emissions globally. Reports suggest industrial sectors such as utilities, steel, cement, aluminium and chemicals play a significant role, accounting for approximately 38% of global emissions and 62% of emissions in India. Now, this underscores the pressing need for decisive action. Tech platform sentra.world aims to help industrial companies manage GHG emissions of their own operations, of their suppliers and at the holding company level. To elaborate how, joining me now is Harsh Choudhry, co-founder and CEO of sentra.world. Harsh, welcome to Startup Street. Talk to us about your products and offerings. How are you empowering industrial businesses on their path to net zero?
Thank you, Shruti. Good evening. And first of all, happy Environment Day to you and to all of the viewers. So sentra.world, it stands for Sustainability and Energy Transition for a Better World. Our promise is really around how we can help industrial companies better manage their greenhouse gas emissions. We have two products. One is called Calculus, which helps large industrial companies manage these emissions, and Network is the second one, which helps them connect with their suppliers. The theme for this year's World Environment Day is plastic production. So if we zoom in on that a little bit, right, 3.8% of global emissions come from plastic production. Now, 90% of that comes from the production of it. While there are many initiatives running downstream on reducing plastic or recycling them, we are focusing on the upstream part, where how can we actually reduce the emissions by 50, 60, 70%, right? And that's where we are focused. Our focus geographies are India, Middle East, and Europe. And I'm based in Bangalore. My co-founders in Dubai, to have a sort of a global view.
Okay. Harsh, sentra.world is also aiming to manage 1% of global GHG emissions in the next 5 years. So tell me, how do you see the $2 million seed funding that you've raised help you achieve this target? What are the fund allocation plans?
Absolutely. So there are two areas that we are heavily investing in. One is around climate intelligence. Now, for industrial companies, they're complex, right? You have 10, 20 sites. Each of them has, about 100 different processes running. Now, we are actually investing a lot of time and effort into simplifying greenhouse gas measurement for each sector. So steel separately, aluminum separately, cement separately. So a lot of time and effort is going that, and also to keep up with all the changing market dynamics, the regulations at a global level. So a lot of research intelligence is going into that. And the other one is around product development, right? So, we are building a platform which is number one, it is easy to use. Again, these are industrial companies. They have a billion different things going on. We need to make this super simple. The other one, it has to be safe because, you're dealing with a lot of data. So you're heavily investing into security.
Yes.
And finally, just into making it scalable through a sound technical architecture.
Okay, all right. You spoke about your solutions and your products earlier in the interview, but if you could dive deeper, Harsh, into scope 3, which is supplier related. Large industrial companies have thousands of suppliers who mostly have unstructured data, not the right incentives, and suppliers not wanting to expose their data to buyers and competitors. So tell me, how do you solve these challenges? How are you helping buyers find the right suppliers for the net zero journey?
Right. Great question. So you're absolutely right? Any large industrial company has thousands of suppliers. Now, most companies have recently committed to a future where they're including suppliers into their decarbonization journeys. Now, the first one is we have to make this super simple. We've done quite a bit of research on the topic. So we've mapped out different category clusters for all the suppliers. So when a supplier logs on, they don't need to go through they don't need to do 1,000 different kinds of reporting. We've identified the top 5 or 6 things that they report. They can capture 90% of their emissions, right? So through that research and intelligence, we are actually reducing the burden on suppliers on their own reporting. So that's one. The second one is on incentives. I mean, the question really is, why should a supplier report, right? I mean, and what we want to do is, what we've done is that we've got suppliers to get a rating. Now, every time a supplier provides data, they get rated on things like accuracy of data, completeness, et cetera, and they get a rating, which makes it, it's gamified then. And finally, it's secure, right? I mean, no supplier wants to report their data to a buyer because then they can back calculate it. So what we are doing over here is we've created a sort of a watertight compartment where suppliers send us their data, but we aggregate, calculate it, and send a summary or an aggregated number to the buyer so that they can't decode it back. So that's how we are addressing it through the product.
Okay, all right. Talk to us about your clientele. Who's your target audience and who are you solving for and how are you making money? Most importantly, if you could also take me through your revenue model and the revenue targets that you've set for yourself.
Sure. So Shruti, a typical client for us is a large-scale industrial manufacturer. So imagine steel, cement, aluminum, chemicals, all of those sectors, right? And each company will have, let's say, 10 to 20 manufacturing sites, could be spread all over the world. They would have 100 different manufacturing sub-processes which are running. So we are getting down to the calculations of each of those elements.
Okay.
Now, while these are the macro level details of this, but I think the one thing which we look for in our customers or clients is a clear intent to decarbonize, because without that, there's nothing
Yes.
that a platform like us or anybody else can do. So that's really the prerequisite, and beyond that, having an industrial view. Now, for sentra.world, right? A calculus product is, it has a sort of a subscription fees. Companies sign up on it, and really the fun comes with network, because
Okay.
for network we actually have a very marginal cost. It's almost as small as a rounding off error on a procurement bill. So that's the amount that we charge per supplier as they come on board. And really, as the numbers over here say, right, over the next 5 years, 500 companies, 500,000 suppliers is what we are aiming at.
Okay. One final question, Harsh, before I let you go. If you could share a use case on the kind of impact you've had on the business growth of your client, and also if you could talk to us about the potential you see in the sector going forward.
Sure. So again, early days for us and for this entire sector, but there are four ways in which we can create value. Number one is through compliance reporting. So India has enforced BRSR standards. All the 156 metrics are available on our platform to actually report out. Second one is net zero journey. Everybody's committed to a net zero future, but you need to have the right performance cadence and the structures around it. We provide that. The third one is top line growth. So climate sensitive markets like EU mandates that you're supposed to start reporting out your emissions of 6 sectors, which are steel, cement, aluminum, hydrogen, electricity, and fertilizers. Now imagine India currently exports only $2 billion worth of steel and aluminum to EU. Through a platform like this, can we grow that 5x? Because then you have the right climate licenses to actually export into EU, and you have a strategic advantage.
Okay.
So that's the third one. And finally, there is sustainable finance. The moment that you provide transparency, you get sustainable.
All right, Harsh, we wish you the very best with all your growth plans and keep empowering industrial businesses, on their path of net zero. Many thanks for joining us on Startup Street.
Thank you so much, Shruti.